when you're using these tools, you always want to make sure that if you have a vertical stack, you're going to go into that, say the middle phase, you're going to go into that middle phase to where you're perpendicular to the lower phase, you're perpendicular to the higher phase. And the tool is also perpendicular to that long source that you're making contact with, the X. Okay? So what happens if, remember that phase to phase, remember that lead lineman, what happens if we bring our tool where it starts coming down to that lower phase? Oh, will the numbers go up or down? Let's see what they say, Jeremy. Will the numbers go up, higher, or will they go down, lower? Una pregunta por ustedes. Well, you're getting close to the other phase, right? So you're phase to phase, and you're out of phase, the numbers will go up. Remember that. If you're by a ground plane and you're in you're up in that overhead, and you're near that corner pole, or you're near that pole ground, is it possible that because you're way above ground, but there's a pole ground near your meter? Okay, so your distance is actually not to this ground, but to the pole ground. Will that meter start reading a little higher? Yep, it'll read a little higher because our tools, you say OH, overhead. You're telling the tool you're far from the ground plane. You got URD, you're telling the tool you're close to the ground plane, right? If you're overhead and you're close to a ground plane, let's say you're in a substation and you're doing some substation work, and you've got a lot of equipment, you've got a lot of structure all around you. You may want to put it in URD because you're close to ground planes. It'll be more accurate. All right? So, horizontal stack. Same thing. You're going from here to here. That's all. Same principle. All right? All you got to do to understand this is turn your head sideways, and then you'll understand. All right? Y'all get that? So, if I'm at this long source and I start bringing the meter, I don't have that 90 degree, I'm not perpendicular to that same long source, and I start bringing that meter where it's parallel to that long source, what happens to the numbers? What happens? Well, you get closer and closer to the same potential. So your numbers will go down. Absolutely. Remember these things. And you can experiment. There's nothing wrong with going out and experimenting with your tools. In other words, do that to some degree. Come in to where you become parallel, you're with that same source, and watch those numbers go down. Experiment. That way, once you experiment how not to, you'll know what's going on. You'll know what's going on with those numbers when you're out in the field. If they're too high, too low, you're going to learn what's going on. Because remember, these tools are so accurate, you actually can do line worker experiments. So experiment, learn. It's pretty cool. So proper tool position, proper body position.